Okay, so in this, you have controller, gapper, taker, reader, and the middle. The controller and gapper work together. You can start them in a tandem where the controller actually picks them up like they would in black, harass the ball, and be here. Then the gapper goes here. Or if you wanted to, you could put the controller back and it looks just like a 2-3 zone. The controller and the gapper work together. Those are interchangeable positions. You got to be able to run both. The controller is whoever's guarding the ball. They pressure the ball. They force the ball to the gapper. So in this case, the ball's here. We would actually turn them to go to the gapper. So that way we don't have to help or use the back line at all if we get beat off the dribble. The gapper's job is to be in the gap. The job of the controller and the gapper, pressure the ball, keep the ball at the high post. So when they have the high post here, this gapper is, got their hands in there. If they lob it, that's the middle's job. So just with the controller and gapper, some things that'll happen. Say they dribble over, that controller can just go with it and she kind of switch sides. Or if you wanted to, the ball could be driven and you kind of jump trap it, switch it, and then go back like that. And that's actually pretty effective, especially if the controller is getting them to speed dribble. We just flip it and the gapper becomes the controller becomes the backer, and that's an easy way for them to interchange. So, ball's here, controller, gapper. The taker and reader, their positioning is all based on the offensive alignment. So if you have things set up like this, I got 5 on the court. This reader can match out when she's right down the middle of the floor because she doesn't have anybody in the corner. The taker has to be a little bit more cognizant of having two. But it's a lot like how we play the wings and rover. Let them get out, makes it look like man. So at any given time, if you play in a tandem with the controller and gapper, you could have controller pick up the ball and it look like 2 other people are guarding man. And then if you have the middle back there, they may think you're in man running the man offense. So anyways, a lot of the details of this start to break down when the ball goes to a wing. So say this pass occurs. Now ball side's established. That's what makes this a taker and this a reader. If they would have passed it over to here, this would have been the taker and that would have been the reader because ball side switched. Taker takes the first pass, takes the shot away. Taker takes the shot away. So no matter what, doesn't matter if you get beat off the dribble or anything, they have to come and crowd this person. And the reason why I brought them there is you want to have their outside hand up. So like in this case, this person's left hand will go up. You don't want them to force baseline. You actually want to force them back into the controller and gapper. And here's why. If they take the shot away, first thing that's supposed to happen is, they prevent the shot. Either controller or gapper has to go bump the taker down, just like in a normal 2-3 zone concept. 2 ways that could happen. The controller can decide to leave the gapper there, banana cut so they get a good angle, and come in here and get it. The gapper, if we didn't do the banana cut, the gapper could decide to come here and go get it, forcing the controller to go become the gapper. So gapper becomes controller becomes the gapper, and we just switched it. So either one of those 2 things happen when the ball goes to the wing. So taker's out here on this, really pressuring it. Let's say controller started to come over, gapper just stayed put. The middle slides over. Fix that a little bit. And we'll talk about the middle later. So when the controller or gapper bumps the taker down, because there's a corner, they have to bump down. If we were doing this over there, we could just trap it. So if there was no person here, what we would do is when controller or gapper came over, we would just trap that because there's nobody in the corner for them to flip to, for the taker to bump down to. But in this case, there was. So what would happen is the taker would bump down with their hand in the passing lane to the corner. So they just have their hand out here all the way back, just trying to take away that pass. Now, obviously, what will occur is there's going to be times when the taker's still on the ball, controller gapper is working to get there, and we don't have time to switch and bump, and they're just going to throw it to the corner. The middle is always fronting, is always able to get out. We will trap everything corner, short corner, and block. So in this case, the ball got flipped. Ball gets flipped quick. That middle is going out and taking it. The taker is going down and trapping it. When that happens, this gets involved with the reader. So the taker takes the shot away. Controller gapper take the drive. The reader is reading all this on the weak side. As soon as that ball went to the wing, the reader should have been playing more into here. The reader is watching for any skip pass across and is watching for if the middle goes out. If any time the middle goes out to either trap into the corner or the short corner, the reader comes all the way over and will get any of the high post people that are diving. So if she goes right here, that reader will come right over and grab it. So essentially what you could have at any time is you could have a middle and a taker here trapping the ball with a controller here. The reader comes all the way over and snuffs everything, and the gapper's the back person. Looks just like a 2-2-1. It's a lot like in black. You could do the same thing. Let's say they pass the ball into the short corner. Middle would go get it. Taker would go trap. Reader would come over. Gapper back here. Controller back here, just looking to get the next pass. Still has that 2-2-1 look. Again, the big thing on the wings is the taker takes the shot, controller or gapper, whichever one it is, comes over and takes the drive. So that's how we look at it. Taker almost wants to get beat, forces them with outside hand into a controller or gapper coming over, and again, it's kind of like the top when you jump switch it. Now, the middle person has a few jobs. Obviously, we talked about the ball is up here, preventing the lob into the high post person. Well, what happens if they have the balls over here on the wing, they have a short corner, and they have this high post person? If they have it like that, the middle has to be here, has to split the difference between the two. If they ever have a low block person, she's obviously going to be in front of that because she can't get out if she's not in front. Now, the interesting thing that'll happen is, let's just say somehow, some way, the ball gets thrown into the high post. So you had a controller, you had a gapper, you have a middle, and you have taker and reader. So when the ball goes in the middle of the high post, what we do is we guard it, we drop, and we fan out. Anything in the high post on the catch, middle has one-on-one. Taker and reader drop to the blocks. Gapper and controller fan out to find shooters. Now, if the shooter ends up being the person that's right up here, that's scouting report, we stay there. If shooters are usually on the wings, they fan out. But what we don't ever do is have controller and gapper like dig in on the high post. We want the middle to take it one-on-one. Say if you can score a pull-up jump shot, great on us, but you're not going to get a layup because the reader and taker are dropping. The reader and taker are also dropping because it prevents any of those backdoor cuts or any of those short corner low block people for the high-low passes. Some adjustments you can make off of it. Obviously, you can start the controller and gapper here. If you have a really, really good high post player, you can always instead of having the taker all the way out here or the taker reader, you can always just bunch them in. Maybe that's a non-shooter. If they can't shoot, you can pack it in inside all day, and vice versa. If they have no inside game, you can really get out. Like it because of different rotations and everything. Big key, though, is when the ball goes to the wing, taker must take it. Reader must be alert to start moving. Middle must get in position. Controller, gapper got to talk. When the ball goes corner, short corner, or anything, we're trapping it. We get into that 2-2-1 trap alignment. The pass that we're going to give up, because we're playing the taker and reader so high, let's just say we split it right now, is we are completely willing to let them throw top to the short corner. If that happens, we go right into a trap. Let's say they went traditional and they passed the ball here and controller and gapper, and let's just say they passed it. Taker gets it, and gapper runs out, and they do all this in time before she passes it, and she can actually go bump down. Well, if that occurs, first of all, they probably shouldn't be able to pass Winnie the corner because she's in the passing lane. Let's say they do, though. If she has time to get it by herself, we'll let just the taker guard it in the middle, stay here, and have a controller here, and a gapper here, and a reader here. So the only time the middle is going to come out is if the taker needs help from the middle. But anytime the middle does come out, whether it be short corner there to trap, reader's going to come all the way over and take it.